Welcome to episode 1 of season 6. Can you believe it? It's been 5 years in the making, but I think you're really going to enjoy this episode today. Always with this pod, I'm trying to find out the story of the people behind what we know. And obviously, having followed her on social media for such a long time, it was so lovely to get to know her even better. So please enjoy today's episode with Sinéad Kavanagh. I know so many women in business that have started from the kitchen table, but are now exporting products all around Europe and hiring freelancers from all over and so much more. That kind of growth needs the right setup, and Revolut Business makes working across borders seamless. One of the best parts, though, is that you can keep multiple currencies in one business account. No need to open separate ones for each market. With Revolut Business, you have full transparency for all currency exchange, as they offer interbank exchange rates within allowance during market hours. These are the same low rates used between banks. Whether you're paying your VA in Manchester, sorting out your graphic designer in Paris, Revolut Business makes working globally so stress-free. You can manage it from your laptop or from the palm of your hand on your phone. And if you fancy trying this, then BBell has the offer for you. BBell listeners get €200 welcome bonus if you sign up at www.revolut.com/rb/bbell. Wherever your business is heading, this will give you the confidence to move forward. The offer is valid to all new business customers in Ireland. Sign up before September 30th, 2025 and add money to your account to get your bonus. T's and C's apply. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited, actually. Before we started, in fact, we have been chatting for quite a while. I'm not saying anything about the guys shirt at all. They can't see us anyway. But we've been chatting for quite a while. And I was saying to you right at the beginning, when I told my husband that I was excited to have the chat with you, he asked me, were you a fighter?
Oh, yeah. Look at me. Look, those muscles.
So I must clarify, there is an MMA fighter with the same name as you.
Yeah, Sinéad Kavanagh.
Yeah. And so I thought it was hysterical, this one. And then I was like, questioning myself, did I book the right person? I must have checked with Aoife, and I was like, no, I know I've booked the right person. I don't watch MMA fighting. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't. But listen, I'm so glad to have you here because I have followed you for such a long time.
Thank you.
And I'm always interested because, you know, we see who we think we're watching on our screens and as we scroll through our phones. And so I love getting people on because I want to know the real you.
Yeah.
So where did it all begin?
Online or me?
You, like, where were you born?
I'm from Dublin originally.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in the Coombe. My mum and dad are together since they were 16.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they were like, my mum and dad were disgusting. They were absolute, like, the love of each other's lives right up until the day my dad died.
Yeah.
So yeah, my mum was 24. They'd been married a year or so when they had me, and lived in Clondalkin until I was 17 and moved to Leixlip. So that was me, a dub at heart.
So pure dub.
Yeah.
And as a child, like, were you by yourself, siblings?
No, I'm the eldest.
Right.
So, and my sister Aisling is 3 years younger than me, and my brother Dara then he's 5.5, 6 years younger than me. So there's the three of us, and we're a very close family. Like,
that's lovely.
Yeah.
And 3 years, I'm actually 3 years younger than my older sister, and we were super close.
Yeah.
We were twins, like, as kids.
We wouldn't I wasn't the nicest child to my sister.
Were you the bossy older sister?
Yeah, I definitely was. My sister, like any younger sister, would have idolised me. I see it with my own kids. My younger child idolises the eldest. And you have your head up your backside when you're the eldest. And I went around and it was just me. And my dad used to kill me. He's like, your sister loves you. Bring her with you. And I'd bring her with me. I'd be like, come on.
And did that come old as you got older, though? Because I kind of fell into that as well when I was about 11. But as kids, like as young children, you know, when we were like 5, 6, whatever, I mean, I did adore
Yeah,
Kim.
oh my God, yeah.
But we did, I mean, my mum used to dress us the same.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, and people are like, oh, aren't they cute, whatever. So we were very close. And then as she hit senior school, which is like she was 11, I'd be like 8, 9. So we were in different schools for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's where I felt the stretch.
Definitely. And I was very protective of my sister.
Yeah.
Like I remember being on the green and my sister, God love her, like it was the 80s. She had these big bottle glasses. Now, I mean, like they were so thick. And my mum had her hair cut in a bowl cut. And somebody down the green called her Benedict because they said she was like a Benedictine nun. Well, hell had no fury like me racing into the green to kill those fellas for my sister. Like nobody was allowed to slag my sister except for me.
Only you. Yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah, but we did. Definitely as we grew up and we went to secondary school, we became closer. And like in my 20s, we moved in together in town and lived together for a while. But we are very different. Like my sister is so driven. Like she's extremely driven and focused, where I am creative and I'm a total daydreamer.
Okay.
And so we are very different. And while I adore her now and we do, like she lives in London and I go over to her a lot and we talk most days, we'll still kill each other.
Yes. But that's what sisters are for. I've got 4.
Absolutely.
We just take it in turns.
Yeah.
But, and so 2 sisters though, and then
my one sister and then my brother Dara.
Sorry, the two girls I meant to say.
Yeah.
And then the brother. So is he the golden child?
Oh, of course. We always say to my mom, my son. And she slags us. Oh my God. I mean, he was the apple of my dad's eye. Like, we used to always tell Dara that he was an accident. But like, we loved each other. Like, as I said, we're so close. But the slagging, like, but that's, I think, a real Irish thing. Like, it toughens you up. It gives you, skills for later on in life. But my dad just adored him. And my dad loved all of us, but Dara was my dad's buddy. And my dad did all the football teams with him. My dad had him at golf and like right up again until my dad got sick. They were like the best of friends. So, but I would have been very close to Dara too.
Yes.
And I suppose at times it would have been myself and Dara as kids. And then poor Aisling.
Well, I was going to say, it's Aisling okay, being in the middle child.
Yeah.
It's definitely different. Listen,
it's a thing.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
I was a middle child for ages and I was very excited not to be. I'm now the second oldest, but I was a middle child for 6 years. I hated it. I always used to say the oldest was too sensible to have done it.
Yeah.
The youngest was too cute to have done it and you're just right. Now, normally it was me.
Yeah.
But the middle child syndrome is a thing. And a lot of my friends are middle children, actually.
There's definitely a second child thing.
Okay.
Like, any of my friends, we always say, my second child is an absolute head case. He is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am the second child.
But in a good way.
Oh, no. I see it in... a couple of my sisters, they've all got two kids. And the second one is mental.
Yeah. I think you're just as a parent, not as like, oh my God, and the second child gets away with a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think as well, it all zooms in. I see it with my sister here and my 2 nieces. The youngest one gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And maybe as well, she might be the last one. Maybe, do you know what I mean? And the oldest kind of looks after herself and is... and learns to play by herself and, and they are a little bit more creative, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe there is that trait.
Yeah.
It's just general. I see it I see memes a lot, actually, or memes or whatever you call them, with the second child.
Yeah. It is definitely, like for me, I suppose I fall into a lot of cliches and I think my kids do as well and my sisters. So, yeah.
It's mad. And as a child, were you like sporty? What were you into?
I loved sport. I was a real tomboy. Like I was not a girly girl whatsoever. I went through my stages. So I loved my boy bands. Take That was my, like, oh my God. I remember crying myself to sleep because I'd never marry Robbie Williams. Like,
we were chatting before. I'm Team Gary.
I was definitely Team Robbie.
Well, I'm coming round. I'm watching the concerts and he looks amazing.
Oh, he's beautiful. But I was into sport so much. Like I was a Man United fan.
Okay.
And back then it was a proud thing to be. Now, not so much. But one of my walls would be covered in all Manchester United. It was the Ryan Giggs, David Beckham era. And then the other part would be Take That. And I'd always be found down on the green with playing football with the lads. Like that was
your thing.
That was my thing. Yeah, I was really sporty. And again, I would have been into music. I studied music in college and music was another thing that I loved. And I still would get an awful lot of like solace from music. And
And when you say music, you played instruments?
Nope.
Okay.
I have taken up so many instruments and just put them down. I don't have the kind of attention span to keep things up, but I sang. And I sang for years. So I used to get my voice trained in stage music.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was what I did, yeah.
And so you still love the stage?
I never did a play.
Wow.
So when we were in school, like as a kid, I would have done stuff in like primary school, and in secondary school, it was fourth year they did this like the musical, and it was such a thing. And I went to private school, and my mum and dad were like, right, let's get her out of there as quick as possible because my brother Dara was coming up through, and I wasn't able to do fourth year. And I remember being in fifth year, my music teacher coming up and going, please, any chance to go back into fourth year and do it? So I never got a chance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I remember years ago, I auditioned for the teacher musical, and I don't have the acting skills. I've never kind of done anything about it. So yeah.
And you still have a graph for it? Like, is there something?
Yeah, since having kids, I haven't really sang. Like, it's weird. I was thinking about it recently that I would have always put karaoke on in the car. It's my favourite thing to do, especially my husband's from Cork. When we were driving up and down, when we were doing long distance, I would sing and sing and sing. I just don't do it as much anymore, which is kind of sad, really.
You need to do it again.
Yeah, I definitely do. I did go to the casual choir a few times.
Yes, I saw that actually.
Oh, so good.
I'm waiting for them to come to Cork. I haven't seen them in Cork yet, but it looks amazing.
Oh my God. Do you know what? It's so uplifting. It's just really good for the soul.
Yes.
So good for the soul.
I think all singing, I don't care if you haven't got a voice or not, singing is just good for you.
It really is.
It's even good because obviously I teach a lot of breath work. So it's great for just breathing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So really into sport as a kid.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about what you'd like to do when you were older?
I always wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
It was never anything but Sinead wants to be a teacher. But I never thought it was something I would ever be able to do because while I was a really good kid, I would describe that my personality is someone that I would definitely be a people pleaser, and I'd be somebody who likes to be liked. I think a lot of us are like that, but I was that kid in school. If you gave out to me, my bottom lip would tremble. I was gone. But I wasn't like the super smart kid in the class. I held my own. I was above middle ground. So I didn't think teaching was for me, and of course I didn't get the Leaving Cert for it. So, but I think I am a really good example of the Leaving Cert is just one route. There's plenty of other routes. And I will say, for me, there's not many things I compliment myself on, but I'm a very good teacher. And I think the reason for that being is I know where the kids struggle because I had the same struggles. Like, you don't have to be Einstein to be a teacher. You just have to be good with people, good with kids.
I think we need more teachers like you because I struggled at school. And my teachers didn't understand why I was struggling. I completely understand now, or 10 years and 15 years after, because I've studied since and found it so much easier. But I found my way of studying.
Yeah.
But there was only one way when we were at school.
Oh my God, it was books. It was chalk and talk and books. And I'm not a book learner. I'm
all visual.
Yeah, and I'm a continual assessment type person. Exams, I am an absolute bottler when it comes to exams. Like, it's actually so soul destroying.
Yeah.
Like, the stuff, but you go in there and you're like, oh my God.
And so what route did you have to take?
I did an arts degree after my Leaving Cert. I did history and geography and then music in my first year. Because I didn't play an instrument, it really went against me. And I'll be honest, when I went to an all-girls school and when I went to secondary college, I went, oh my God, there's boys. There's boys everywhere.
Okay.
And boys that play sport even more so. So I was distracted.
Okay.
So after that, I went and I worked in Chambers, Ireland for a while. I was one of a TD now. I won't say who. I was his PA for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it was at a time when there was a real teacher shortage. So I taught unqualified in special schools. Well, they don't call them that now. That's what they were then. But there was, and that was so good for me because I worked with children that you need patience with. You needed to really fine tune how you were teaching them. You had to have multiple ways to bring like different subjects to them because no child, especially for children with additional needs, no child learns the same way. And then I applied to do the postgrad in St. Pat's and I got in that way.
That's amazing. And you have all that experience to nurture and look after the next people coming through. But did you enjoy school?
I enjoyed primary school.
Okay.
But secondary school, not so much. I didn't have the best experience in secondary school. I would have experienced in 5th and 6th year, particularly 6th year, I experienced like a lot of bullying. Yeah.
And how did it present itself?
Just mean girls.
Okay.
Like, I'm very soft, and I do know that. And people say, oh, you have to get thicker skin. Like, that's so much easier said than done. Like, I am a softie. I have a big heart. I'm exactly like my dad. I remember as a kid going to the cinema with my dad to see Curly Sue.
Oh, yeah.
And he was sobbing. And I was like, what is wrong with you? But that's me now. Like, that's me. So it was just, those girls probably knew no different, and I don't blame them on anything. It was just, we'd sit at the table and they'd ask everybody, are you going out? Are you going out? And they'd look at me and go, And then they'd go to the next person. And like, my mom tried to pull me out of the school, and she got a place for me in like Loretto on the Green, and my principal in my school wouldn't let me go. She was like, nope, she wouldn't answer the phone to the principal in Loretto on the Green. So, you know, that I have to say, I do feel like looking at things now, like back then in the 90s, you knew no different. We didn't know what anxiety was. We didn't really, like, we knew what bullying was, but we didn't know the effect it had on us. And looking at stuff now and reading on things, I definitely think that that has shaped me a little bit. And one thing in particular, I saw a TikTok recently going, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was all about like, it's sad really, but often I would go into a situation and I go, automatically think people don't like me. And now I am working on that. And it's supposedly to do with when you were younger, there was times when people actually openly showed that they didn't like you, and it has an effect on you.
And they openly show you they don't like you, but for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
I always want a reason.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm like,
what did I do?
Yeah, I must, and it's that thing, isn't it? I must have done something. What did I do to make them feel like that? What have I done to make them not like me? But actually, sometimes it's nothing.
Oh yeah, it's nothing.
I mean, I always say I experienced a tiny bit of bullying at school, but I remember saying to my mum, it's just my turn.
You know what? That's actually, like, people do have a time of when they just don't like you for a while.
Yeah.
And I think my kids I'm really about talking with my kids and reasoning things out and go, like, Connor, sometimes people don't like you because sometimes you don't like everybody.
Yeah.
And we have to look at it like that. And when you see it that way, it's actually all right. I'm with my husband 19 years, and he's really shown me that. Like, I am a lot better in going, okay, who do I like here? And that's who gets my attention. And a person who's being not so good to me, I will just, you're gone.
Yeah. And it's different, but when you're soft, it's harder to learn that, and it takes a long time.
It does.
I probably didn't get to my 40s.
Yeah, I'm 43 now, and I was like, my God, bedtime, start learning things, Sinead.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I always just say, no, I can make them like me.
Yeah.
Because we're just not for everybody, are we?
No.
And that's okay.
And I'm a big personality.
Yeah.
And I definitely pulled back. I mean, in my 20s, my friends will tell me I was the girl on the table dancing on a night out. That was me. I was a big personality. And now I'm more reserved.
Yes.
Definitely more reserved. And I'm happy being that person now.
Yeah. No, and it's hard. And I think you're like me, you're very chatty.
Yeah.
So I probably learned in my 30s to listen a little bit more.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's actually when I started learning so much. Yeah. And maybe that's why we learn so much as we get older, because we talk less and listen more.
Ask people more questions. I love that. When I meet somebody, I ask about them. I want to know about them, because like, it's just, I like that.
Yeah. I do remember someone kind of challenging me once to say what everybody did at the table. And there was like 12 of us or whatever at the table. And I got them all right.
Yeah.
And actually somebody brought it up recently, and it just made me have a little giggle inside, because I was like, I know I was challenged to do that because I talk a lot.
Yeah.
But actually I do listen too.
Yeah. And I like that. It's nice to kind of know people.
Yeah.
Rather than just it all being about you.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Like now I'm just like, my life's pretty boring. You know, somebody didn't ring me on time the other night, and I had to text them and say, you do know I go to bed at 9. Like,
oh my God, I go to bed so early. I love going to bed early.
But girl, that's why we got great skin.
Yeah. That and the Botox.
Yeah. Oh yeah, shush. Actually, I just had mine done. It should look all right, hopefully. But so with all that sport in mind, you knew you wanted to be teaching, and you know you're going to get there. It wasn't the easiest route.
No.
But I think that's a really good thing to show people, because I do believe everybody can achieve their goals.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's a bit of a twisted route to get there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Like, I saw a thing recently, a guy, he had difficulties in secondary school, he didn't do a good leaving cert, and now he's still doing the job he wants to do because he went in and he did a PLC course and then he went into college. I just hate the fact that in Ireland we make such a big deal about the leaving cert.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to life. And you know what? my dad didn't do a Leaving Cert and he still became managing director of a really successful company. I mean, life teaches you so much more than school ever will.
Oh, 100%. If I'm employing someone, I take experience over education every time, but that's just me. And so you said you've been with your husband 19 years. So at what point in that journey did you meet him?
God, I was 24 when I met my husband. Yeah, turning 25. I was in Pat's training to be a teacher, and his best friend was my very good friend in college. And I'd always been going, have you any friends for me? You any friends for me? She's like, no. And then Dave came out one night. I was actually, you know, those things again, it's a trend on TikTok where people like, you know, the butterfly effect moment.
Yes.
I was meant to be working that night. I used to work in promotions. Of course I did. The original influencers. And I was meant to be working, and the lads had won some like football final, and I'd been out with my friend, and she was like, please come out, please. I just thought, go on. And I called in sick to work, which was something I never, ever did. And I met Dave.
Sliding doors.
Yeah. And I met Dave, and I loved baseball, and I was a Boston Red Sox fan. And he put his phone on the table, and a Boston Red Sox screensaver was on, and I was like, excuse me, what? And yeah, we met each other. Now, I did have to chase him then, because he living in Cork, and he was shy, but I've no harm. Like, you know, if you want something, you go after it.
And that was the time, because my husband's from Cork as well.
Yeah.
It was a 4.5 hour, 5 hour drive.
Oh my God, going through Abbey Leaks used to break my heart.
Do you always stop in Johnstown?
Yes.
Yes. Stop it. Not Johnstown, Urlingford.
They had a Supermax in there.
Yes, absolutely. And my next question before we even move on is, how on earth did you get a Cork man out of Cork?
I know. The first night, so we'd been to kind of seeing each other, and the night of my graduation from Pat's, he came up and he asked me to be his girlfriend. And straight after asking me to be his girlfriend, he says, you know, I'll never move to Dublin. I was like, yeah, I believe you. And then we did long distance, I think, for about 3 years up. I say long distance, like, but it kind of was. Like, I remember at the time Ryanair used to fly, and we'd fly up and down sometimes to kind of save some time.
And the airport was like a school.
Yeah.
Just with rows of seats.
It was gas. And then, I don't know, like, we really loved it. I say loved in past tense, we still do, but we really were besotted with each other. And I had a good job, and he was like, you know what, I'll go for a while, like, but it's not going to be long term. I was like, yeah. And then we broke up for a while. I bought a house, and we broke up for like 5 months, and I let him see, look what you're missing out on. And he did, and he came back.
Oh, bless. I don't know anybody that's got a Cork man to move.
Yeah.
I met my husband at a friend's wedding, and she was marrying one of his friends from Cork. We both live in Cork now, and I meet so many people, and then I'm like, your husband's from Cork? And they're like, yes.
He's Cork through and through. Like, he bleeds, well, he obviously bleeds red blood, but like, you know, he is a rebel, and he's like, at my funeral, I want the banks played, you know.
Do you know what, though? I've been there 15 years, and if you cut me open, I'm Cork.
Yeah.
I really am. I just love it. I think it's just a fabulous place. But
I just can't, because it rains all the time. Like, whatever about Ireland rain, Cork is just a whole other level.
I know. We kind of get to Tipperary, and then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind. But we can fly to loads of places now. So I get my sun in. I get my vitamin D, just not in Ireland. But so you obviously have that journey. Like, how long does it take before you get married? And are you even thinking?
Time.
Oh, right, okay.
A long
he's definitely
time.
from Cork.
Yeah. I think we were 7 years before he proposed. And the night before he proposed to me, we were in Orlando. My mum and dad used to have a house in Orlando. Yes. And I turned to him that night and I says, Dave, are we actually ever going to get married?
Oh, hilarious. And he had it in his pocket.
We went to NASA the next day, because like, myself and Dave are so well matched. We're both total geeks, like, and he loves like science and, you know, spaceships, where I love technology and everything. And we went to NASA. It was so funny. So many times he was like ready to propose, and I actually had bronchitis, and like I kept coughing. And he went down with a rocket taking off that day, and he was about to take off or to propose, and then all the Americans were clapping. He's like, I'm not doing it in front of them. And then we were going to go to Cocoa Beach, and then start raining. And we went back to my mum and dad's house, and he, next thing I look, and he's down on one knee. I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, will you marry me? I was like, excuse me, what are you doing? Get up. And he's like, I didn't believe him.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, and I still wear it. He'd had a ring for me. And he's like, oh, there's a whole thing. We're going to go get a ring. And I was like, of course I'm going to marry you. I only asked you last night.
Oh,
like, it was,
hilarious.
Yeah, he was so nervous. So we were 7 years. We got married, or we got engaged on July 14th. The following July, we got married on July 3rd. And the following July, on July 14th, my first child was born. So it's kind of like it sandwiches it. Yeah. So,
yeah, I was going to say, that's a bit organised.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm definitely not an organised person, but things fall into place.
And your kids?
I have 2 kids.
2?
Yeah. Connor is almost 9 and Oisin is 6. And they are the loves of my life. Yeah. I adore everything about them. Now, don't get me wrong. They drive me nuts at times. But they're the absolute best.
And did you always see yourself as a mum?
I think I did because it's what we're supposed to do as such. Like, I think Ireland is very much like that. You go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, you have kids. But realistically, like, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
I'd never held a baby before I had a baby. And I remember I had a C-section, so I'm very complicated. When I was pregnant with Connor, so I had cervical stuff. So LETS procedures, and I had 2. And on my second LETS, they found quite an awful lot of very advanced, like, pre-cancer cells. So it wasn't there, and he goes, we need to get rid of this or you will get cancer. And so they got rid of it. And he said to me, the doctor said, when it comes to having a baby, tell them because you've very little cervix there. And I says, grand, no problem. So because I did eventually get cancer, I just had it in a different place. I had it in my thyroid. When I had thyroid cancer, the consultant radiologist, or what she called, the one that gives you all the treatments, said to me, it might not be as straightforward a route to have kids. So maybe, think about going to somebody who'll mind you. So I was like, no problem. So we got pregnant straight away. We weren't even trying. I was like, sorry, what? Which I was so happy with because it took any stress out of it. And I went private and I was so glad I did because I was so complicated. Connor wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for the consultant. So 12 weeks, I had what's called an abdominal cerclage. So he put me under first. They wanted to keep me awake. I was like, absolutely under no circumstances am I staying awake, because they wanted to check the length of the cervix. But there was so some people can get a stitch, and when you get the stitch, you get it snipped beforehand and you can have a natural delivery. But there was very little there. So they cut you hip to hip and they put basically a rubber band on the cervix. So it completely closes you off.
Sorry, just repeat that again. They cut you from hip to hip and then put the band in.
Yeah, and then sew you back up.
Okay.
And I was pregnant. So obviously I can't have the good drugs, and the drugs they could give me, I'm allergic to. So I have a lot of allergies. So all I could have was paracetamol. I have never in my life experienced pain like it for 6 weeks. And while lying in bed, one day I get out, it's probably about 4 weeks in after this operation, and the bed was covered in blood. I was like, oh no, this is it. Because I knew things weren't going to be easy for me. And I rang my husband. I was like, I'm bleeding. I'm really bleeding. And he was like, oh no. So I rang a taxi. He was in work. I rang a taxi and I got in the car and I was just arrived into Rotunda, and I walked into oh my God, I walk in. I can still see the woman. She was cleaning the floors. And she goes, are you okay? I was like, I'm losing my baby. And she didn't, because when you go into Rotunda, you're there for ages. Yeah. She opened the door, put me into a cubicle, and I just lay there. I was having a partial placental abruption.
Wow.
Is that what they called? Yeah. And my consultant just put me on bed rest for a couple of weeks and went back to work after that. And then Connor was born at 38 weeks by C-section.
God, you're so lucky.
Oh my God, blessed. I feel so lucky to have my boys because I watched your stories the other day. It's not an easy route.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to be somebody who it was going to be an easy route. We didn't get pregnant easily on Oisin because I'd had that cerclage put in. A lot of scar tissue is there. Yeah. And, I think it's why I'm off work. I get a lot of, stuff online going, oh, you gave up a teaching job, to be a full-time influencer. I haven't given up my teaching job. I am, I call myself an accidental influencer, but I am doing this not for I don't want to be famous. My God, there's nothing worse. I just want to be with my kids. That's all. And as I said, Connor's nearly 9 and I've been with him more or less full time.
What a waste it would be if you hadn't gone through all that, not to spend time with them whilst you have the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I completely get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand the reverse.
No.
Because most people in this day and age have fought for their children.
Absolutely.
In some way, shape or form, unless they're very lucky or so isn't that lovely that you are able to do that?
I feel so lucky. And I don't think the people that follow me or engage with me realise how much they've done for me. I will be eternally grateful to the people that follow, because people think, oh, she gets free stuff. Nothing in life is free, but she gets free stuff, or she gets to go on these brand trips. And that's a perk, don't get me wrong. But it's being with my boys.
Yeah.
And that is what it's all about. Because if it wasn't for them, I'd have packed it in a long time ago and gone back to work full time and just been a teacher.
And it's not easy what you do.
No.
It isn't. I always say, I work both sides of the fence. I work with some companies helping them to influence people, and I work with a lot of brands that need to use influencers. And so I work both sides of the fence. But that's given me a real insight how difficult it is and how much time everything takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you land in it, I suppose?
So in 2013, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And I was really into beauty at the time. And it was the time that YouTube was like Tanya Burr, like all of these people. I loved it. Every night I'd go to bed watching a YouTube video. And when I was first diagnosed in the May, I had my operation. I had a partial thyroidectomy. And after 3.5 weeks, I went back to work. And I remember at the time going in, because it was the end of the school year, and a parent coming up to me going, "You've missed so much school." And I was like, "Oh, right, I was sick." And she goes, yeah, but you've missed so much school. I said, "Sorry, I have cancer." And she goes, "Yeah, but my child had her drumcondra exams and you weren't here." And I went, whoa, oh my God. So that summer, I was told that the tumour was actually pretty big and I needed to have the rest of it out and I need to have radioactive iodine. So I was going to have to take some time off of work. And my principal at the time she was a nun, and she was the most gorgeous woman, so supportive. And she goes, "I do not want to see you until not only are you better, but you've had time to recuperate and, just be in the moment." And I'm so lucky she said that, because I was actually a year off work. I was really unwell.
Yeah.
My body just, I've a lot of health stuff, and my body just doesn't respond to things the way normal people would. And I had my second operation in the October. I said, "What am I going to do? I can't stay at home and just watch telly, because I am not a person who sits easy. I always have something on the go." And I was actually in the middle of writing a maths book at the time. I said, "The maths book is nearly done. What am I going to do?" And my friend says, "Why don't you write a blog, like an actual written blog?" I said, "I think I will." So the weekend before my exam or my operation, my husband and myself went into McDade's in town. I said, "I think I'm going to do a blog." He goes, "What are you going to call it?" I says, "I think I'll call it Princess Twinkle Toes." That was the name I come up. Dave says, "What?" He goes, "No," because he is my biggest cheerleader. And he's like, "You want something like it's a brand?" He goes, because it was so Sumi at the time.
Yes.
He goes, "Look at her, she has a brand, everybody recognisable." And I was really annoyed because I bought something somebody had recommended, and then I found it for like €3 on eBay. I was like, "They're not being truthful. People have to know about this stuff."
Yeah.
And he came up with, "So it has to be about truth." He goes, "What about the beautiful truth?" I was like, "Do you know what? I think I like that." So I had my operation on October 3rd. On October 6th, I sat down one night, I remember sitting in the chair, and I set up the domain name and the Instagram. Well, it wasn't Instagram, but it was I remember having Twitter and Facebook at the time. And every day I got up, I wrote a blog post, I took my pictures, and that was my job and my focus for the day. And once I had done that, I felt I'd achieved something, and then I could just flake.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and this is what I always love about these stories, is you needed that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? Online has really been there for me in many difficult times. There was that. When I was pregnant with Connor, and everything just wasn't easy. When my dad died, or my dad was sick, I feel there's so many women on there that I've never met.
Yeah.
And they have done so much for me. They've got me through incredibly dark times. And yeah, I am so grateful for what I have.
Feeling part of something is such a big thing.
It's huge.
And I know, we were talking before, and I listened to your pod with the lovely Kate from Grief Island about your dad and how close you were. And now that, I listened to the story of, everything and how you met your husband and the kids and what you went through. I remember you saying that day that there's a picture of your happiness. And then obviously your dad got sick. I'm getting choked. How do you feel now?
I will always have a hole in my heart for my dad. He is so missed. Where I really miss him is he was dying to be a granddad. And when Connor was born, when Connor was born, I have a video of it. They walked into the room and my mom went over. My mom was like, "Oh my God, my grandson." My dad came over straight over to me and kissed me. He goes, "My daughter, how are you?" I was like, "It came to me. What about the baby?" He goes, "You're my baby." And I miss him so much. For my kids, for me, for the kick up the arse that I need many times, because my dad he did mess about. Like, he was just like, what? I know he'd go mad that I'm not teaching full time.
Okay.
But he'd also be seeing what I'm doing with the kids. Like, my dad was like, my sister said recently that she was interviewed for something to do with her job and they were talking about the glass ceiling. And Aisling said, we never knew of a glass ceiling. We were, like, when you think about it, in the 80s and 90s, my mom and my dad picked us up. We could do anything. We could take on the world. There was no such thing as like gender bias in our house. It was, if you want it, you go and get it, but you have to work for it. And I miss him. Like, I miss him so much. I don't think you ever stop missing them.
No, and I think you just get used to it.
You do. You grow around it.
Yeah. I always found the hardest thing, I lost my dad a long time ago, and it was my first experience of grief. And I always say to people, the weird thing I found was that life went on. And every now and then you'll turn, and I still turn and go, and I believe in signs.
I do too.
Every time I'm away with my family, the signs are there. He's just letting us know that he's there. And I truly believe they're always around us.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. My dad, there's a woman that came into my life to help me, like a manager. And I said to her, Michelle, I think my dad sent you to mind me. I really do feel that way. Like, where I really miss my dad is not the Father's Day. It's not the big days. One day that really gets me in the gut is the day school finishes. Because my dad didn't know. He was so busy. He was really busy with work. He would always ring me about 10 minutes after the bell went and he'd sing Madonna's Holidays down the phone to me. No matter what, like Christmas and Easter and especially in the summer.
Yeah.
And I miss that. Like, so now when the kids come off school, that's what's played in the car.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And the thing is, like, my dad would have been the same, and I think we have very similar parents actually pushing us forward, and I didn't know anything about ceilings either, where you just got what you wanted. Yeah. But again, you worked hard for it.
You had to work.
I can see them having a pint, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're probably having the giggles now. But what's next for you, I suppose? What do you want now?
With like online and everything?
No, just life in general,
Do you know, I'm so happy at the moment.
Yeah.
I am content. I think my whole life I've constantly gone, what's next? What's next? Like, you go to college, as I said, and then you get a job. And right now, I have what I've always manifested. And I think it's really important to take stock of your day and look at, like, when Oisín was a baby, he was difficult. There's many times I had to remind myself that I lay in the bed manifesting this baby.
Yes.
And I also know how quickly the rug can be pulled from under your feet. So I'm actually trying to just live in the now. Like, I've probably another year or so left in me with online. Not because for any other reason, that I want to go back and be a teacher.
Yes.
I really miss it. And I always said when Oisín got to first class, I'd look at it, let's be practical, there's the pension side of it too. Like, you have to think about
absolutely. You've got to think of the future. Some of us didn't till much later.
Yeah.
And now we're scrambling.
Yeah. It's just all about living in the now at the moment and enjoying my mom. My mom is amazing. She often doesn't get a look in because everyone talks about my dad because, like, he's dead. You kind of talk about the dead person.
Yeah. Hello,
my mom,
I'm here.
I adore her. I spend so much time with her. Every day, she lives 3 minutes up the road from me. I'm down with her every day. We go on holidays together. We do everything.
Brilliant.
She is my, like, spirit animal. We shop together. We do everything. So yeah,
I'm delighted. Well, long may it last.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think we can sometimes go, okay, well, we've got that now, and move on.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes you're right exactly where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, suck it up, I always say. But listen, we're going to finish with a question.
Yeah.
So the last person, I've actually opened it. So
what do you do for self-care? Do you know I'm actually pretty good for that?
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm good too. What do you do?
There's a few different things. I make time for myself is the big one. I do a lot of mindfulness, meditation. I go for Reiki. I know of this wonderful woman, Alva Cronin. I know when I need Reiki because I feel it in my chest and I go to her and it pulls me through. And it's just, I make sure to make time for myself during the day. And it's not selfish to do that. I make sure my husband makes time for himself and the kids. It's important to be in your own time. And I online shop.
I was just going to say that's really good, and then she finished with online shop. But yes, I think good. But it's so important, isn't it? Unless we look after ourselves, we're no good to anybody anyway.
No, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. But women, I find, are really bad at it, and I really want people to get better at it.
There's no guilt allowed. You have to be good to yourself, because if you're not good to yourself, you can't be good to others.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Listen, that is a beautiful way to finish. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm delighted. Hi, and thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Be Bell Podcast. If you have any thoughts, questions, or feedback for us, we always love for you to get involved. And you can find us on Instagram at @BeBell_podcast. Don't forget, though, that if you want to watch these episodes, you can see them all on my YouTube channel, Sian Horn. And don't forget to follow and subscribe. The more people that follow and subscribe, the better it is for the podcast, the more that we can improve future and going forward. So, with that being said, thank you so much for following Be Bell, and I hope you enjoy these next episodes.